So Canada, buckle up, because the political winds just shifted in a big way, and at the center of it all. Mark Carney, the well-known former banker and long-touted figure in Canadian politics. Once seen as a frontrunner for national leadership, Carney is now facing one of the most dramatic setbacks of his public career. It all started with high expectations. Carney entered the scene with international experience, polished credentials, and the support of key figures in Ottawa. For some, he represented a new kind of leadership: technocratic, data-driven, and deeply connected to global economic policy. But out across the country, the reception was far more skeptical. Many Canadians simply weren't convinced. They saw the policy language as distant, the tone as disconnected, and the campaign as lacking the real-world connection that voters want to see, especially in rural and working-class communities. Then came the elections. What should have been a smooth ride quickly turned rocky. 11 ridings, yes, 11 are now under judicial review due to narrow vote margins and growing concerns about irregularities. In Windsor-Tecumseh, the difference was just 4 votes. For context, that's fewer than it takes to elect a curling team captain. Carney's response to the growing political pressure didn't help calm the waters. During a recent address to Parliament intended to restore confidence, he appeared visibly tense. Observers noted a tight jaw, a shaky tone, and a noticeable drop in the calm, measured demeanor he's known for. The cracks are showing, and not just in vote counts. Even among his supporters, questions are growing about whether Carney can truly connect with everyday Canadians or whether his campaign relies too heavily on image rather than substance. While Mark Carney remains largely out of the public eye, quiet and absent as key political questions swirl, his critics say it's becoming clear he lacks both a strong mandate and the public backing many once expected. Meanwhile, the man many assumed Carney would eventually challenge, Pierre Poilievre, has gained traction by doing the opposite of staying silent. While Carney has been meeting with international finance leaders and discussing climate frameworks in global forums, Poilievre has been on the ground in places like Medicine Hat, talking directly with Canadians about everyday concerns like housing, food costs, jobs, and rent. And it's resonating. In Parliament, Poilievre didn't hold back. He strongly criticized legislation like Bill C2, warning it could lead to government overreach and limit free expression. He also took aim at what he called confusing economic rhetoric, offering a clearer, more direct message: make life more affordable, cut red tape, and return control to working Canadians. What we're seeing now isn't just a political styles, it's a deeper division in how leadership is defined. One approach is driven by global language, policy buzzwords, and centralized planning. The other emphasizes plain language, practical reforms, and grassroots connection. And Canadians are paying attention. This isn't just about one election or one debate, it's about which vision will shape the future of the country. One built around global alignment and institutional policy, or one rooted in the kitchen table priorities of everyday families. Canadians aren't moved by policy jargon or climate frameworks, they're motivated by practical concerns. Their paychecks, rising grocery bills, and the dream of owning a home without going into crushing debt. Meanwhile, the cracks in Mark Carney's political support are becoming harder to ignore. His position relies heavily on weak polling numbers, media, consultants, and cautious endorsements from legacy outlets that are beginning to question his legitimacy. Even traditionally supportive commentators are now asking, does he really have a mandate? While Carney leans on scripted talking points, Pierre Poilievre continues to build momentum one small dollar donation at a time. His campaign isn't funded by elites or downtown donors. It's fueled by contributions from nurses, tradespeople, truck drivers, and everyday Canadians. His rallies aren't black tie events, they're standing room only gatherings filled with people ready for change. Out west, Alberta isn't waiting. Premier Danielle Smith is pushing for stronger provincial autonomy, not out of defiance, but out of necessity. With rising taxes on natural resources and decisions being made in Ottawa that seem disconnected from local realities, provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan are rethinking their role in Confederation. Even Atlantic Canada is starting to express frustration. And in Quebec, whispers of alternative leadership are growing louder. The truth is, Carney's political rise was never earned through grassroots connection. It was granted by insiders who thought credentials could replace public trust. But that trust is fading. Canadians are increasingly demanding real leadership, someone who listens, who understands their struggles, and who earned their place. That's why the ongoing recounts aren't just statistics, they're signals. Signals that Canadians are paying attention. And that change is coming. Canadians are starting to face a hard truth. Democracy isn't something we can take for granted. It can be shaped and sometimes influenced by those with powerful connections. And polished resumes, but real leadership isn't about credentials. It's about vision, accountability, and a deep understanding of the people you serve. Even the Governor General, usually focused on ceremonial roles, is now under a growing spotlight. With recounts underway and questions emerging about the integrity of recent results, many are wondering, if the balance of power shifts, will she act decisively or remain silent as frustration builds across the country? Canada may be entering a defining moment, a turning point that could lead to renewal or deeper division. What's clear is that the status quo isn't holding. Mark Carney's carefully crafted image as a global economic expert is starting to wear thin. His proposals on digital regulation are facing pushback. His once favorable media coverage is becoming more critical, and support within his own ranks appears to be slipping. In contrast, Pierre Poilievre continues to resonate with Canadians, not through flashy campaigns or insider endorsements, but by showing up, listening, and speaking plainly. His support isn't rooted in institutions, it's built around the kitchen table, with people who feel like their voices are finally being heard. The next election, whether it comes through recounts, resignations, or rising public demand, will be about more than party lines. It will be a choice between two very different visions for the country, one shaped in boardrooms, the other shaped by the everyday experiences of working Canadians. No matter when the moment comes, one thing is certain: Canadians will remember who stood with them and who stayed silent. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. The Maple Leaf still stands for something strong, and its best days may still be ahead.